YouTube. What's up, everybody? It's Crispy. Welcome to the channel. If you're anything like me, you're probably lost in the Call of Duty Zombies storyline, because I am. I got lost after Black Ops 3. Black Ops 2 and 3 kind of lost me a little bit. So today we're gonna get caught back up by watching a YouTube video together. So let's go ahead and get right into it. So the video is by French's OP. I'm gonna subscribe to him. I'm gonna like the video. The entire Call of Duty Zombies storyline explained. This is from World at War all the way to Black Ops 6. Vanguard and Modern Warfare Zombies. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and get right into it.
Interest you? Did you skip out on Cold War, Vanguard, or MWZ, but want to be fully up to date with Black Ops 6?
Yes.
Do you just love storyline videos?
Yes.
Well, get ready for absolutely everything you need to know about the Call of Duty Black Ops Zombies storyline.
Perfect. Let's get it, chat. World at War to Black Ops 6. So I've been into zombies for a long time, y'all. It's just, like I said, I got lost after like the Black Ops games kind of died off. And I say died off lightly. They didn't die off. It's just after Black Ops 3, it just kind of lost my attention. That's all.
In the beginning, there was only the Ether and the Keepers. The Keepers were a race of godlike creatures that existed inside of the Ether, a place beyond time and space. Two Keepers in particular ruled above all, the Shadow Man and Dr. Monty. In this world, there were also objects of great celestial power, such as the summoning key, used to manipulate the Ether. Other objects include the elemental shards, the Vril device, and the Chronorium. Dr. Monty used the summoning key to create Agartha, a dimension
Hold on, I'm gonna see if
similar
I can make this a little louder.
heaven, a perfect world. At some point, the Keepers discovered a way to travel to new dimensions, including the Dark Ether. Similar to matter and antimatter, the Dark Ether was a dark mirror dimension for all of matter. Time runs differently in the Dark Ether, about 30 times faster. This place was filled with a corrupting energy that mutated some of the Keepers into a new race called Apothicons. The Shadow Man betrayed Dr. Monty and took control of these new Apothicons and declared war on the Keepers. The war raged on, but eventually the Apothicons lost and were banished to the Dark Ether. Over eons they tried to escape, until learning that Earth, and
Bro,
many
this is a
timeline
lot
variants
to
of
track.
Earth, had a way back to Agartha. They sent meteors containing Element 115, a corrupting Dark Ether element, to these Earths, and hoped that eventually, war and the human desire for power would eventually open the gateway back to Agartha. And they were right. The Apothicons returned during the late 13th century, so the Keepers and the humans had to team together to successfully banish them back to the Dark Ether. This is known as the Great War.
The Great War,
Humans
okay.
use staves of power to defeat them, and are known henceforth as Primus.
The Primus
They and the
team.
entire war are then forgotten, lost to time. Many years pass, and history continues. During the old American West, a man creates plans for an object called the Agarthan device. However, it needs 3 ingredients that he does not have: an elemental shard, the blood of an elder being, and the Vril device, the latter of which he creates.
World at War. Okay, so this is the actual game. All that was before the game, kind of the backstory.
We then skip to World War II, where each major nation in the conflict has access to Element 115. Germany and Japan both experiment with 115 on prisoners of war. The
And chat,
German
hold on. How did they know all this? Like, just from playing the games and doing like side quests and stuff? Y'all let me know.
Experiments are led by Ludwig Maxis and Edward Richtofen, where they try and teleport matter, but have so far, accidentally, created undead, uncontrollable zombies. They also funded this by creating 115-based weapons for the German army called Wonder Weapons. Many things happen during this time, but the important part is that Richtofen goes mad due to contact with the 115. Ludwig Maxis has a daughter, Samantha, and a dog named Fluffy, which Richtofen and Maxis experiment on and create
Hellhounds, there we go.
accidentally a Hellhound.
Yep.
Samantha walks in.
See, I know a
and
little
tries to
bit, y'all. I
protect
know a
her
little
dog,
bit.
and Richtofen betrays Maxis by teleporting both of them, assuming that they both die. Samantha ends up on the German moon base and finds an Agarthan machine with based weapons for the German army called Wonder Weapons.
I missed where he said Samantha went.
Time, but the important part is that Richtofen goes mad due to contact with the 115. Ludwig Maxis has a daughter, Samantha, and a dog named Fluffy, which Richtofen and Maxis experiment on and create, accidentally, a hellhound. Samantha walks in and tries to protect her dog, and Richtofen betrays Maxis by teleporting both of them, assuming that they both die. Samantha ends up on the German moon base and finds an Agartha machine
Samantha went
called
to
the
moon.
MPD and enters, taking control of all the zombies. Ludwig Maxis' mind is lost within another dimension, the Crazy Place. While experimenting on live prisoners on a German base in Siberia, Richtofen discovers and begins investigating the elemental shard. With help from the voices in his head, which include the Shadow Man, he imbues the shard with the souls of 3 prisoners. Realizing it isn't enough, he also imbues his own soul too. Dr. Monty, realizing that the Shadow Man is seeking to escape, subliminally pushes scientists in Germany to create various drinks that cause various different effects. These are known as Perca-Colas.
Yeah, Perca-Colas,
He also
that's
pushes
tough.
for the invention known as the Pack-a-Punch machine, and scatters magical chalk outlines as well as a weapon-producing mystery box around the world. These 3 prisoners of war, who had had their memories partially wiped, help Richtofen by travelling around the world using the mostly complete teleporter to places such as Russia, Shangri-La, Siberia again,
That's
and
crazy,
ultimately the
y'all.
German moon base. The 3 are Takio from Japan,
Yup.
Nikolai from Russia, and American Dempsey. This group of 4 are known as Ultimus.
Ultimus, man.
Richtofen
Y'all, I
uses
miss
the drill
it.
device he found earlier in Siberia to switch places with Samantha and takes control of the zombies.
Chat, who was your favorite Ultimus character? When you loaded up into a game, who was the one character that you were always happy to play as? Let me know in the chat below. Or sorry, in the comment section below.
Their eyes turned from yellow to blue. Ludwig Maxis, who had learnt to harness electricity in the Crazy Place, convinces Ultimus to help stop Edward, but betrays them and sends 3 rockets to Earth, which explode and shatter the planet into pieces.
Okay. So this was the moon Easter egg. Yup. It's crazy how all of this was like choreographed. Is that even a word?
Ultimus then teleport back to Earth and are imprisoned by American soldiers. Meanwhile, on Earth, a group of 4 survivors nicknamed Victus fight off Richtofen's undead army. They travel around the world and help Maxis, who speaks to them through electronic signals. One of the crew, Stuhlinger, can hear Richtofen due to eating zombie flesh. Eventually, with Maxis' help, Victus sends Richtofen's soul into the body of the zombies, forever stuck as he dies and dies again. Ludwig Maxis, now in full control, takes Samantha's soul from Richtofen's original body and takes her to Agartha, and then destroys the Earth. Samantha, safe in Agartha, sees what her father has become. In a different universe, 4 mobsters are locked up in Alcatraz.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I'm still so confused.
As they plan an escape, but are caught in a time loop during a zombie outbreak. In every cycle, 3 of the mobsters learn that the other snitched, and kill him before being sent to the electric chair or killed in the outbreak. Eventually, the cycle breaks when the snitch, Al Arlington, kills the others and his soul is freed. In the same timeline, where the Great War in the 13th century was documented, alternate versions of the Ultimus crew meet in France during World War I. Element 115 and the 4 Staffs of Power are unearthed, and a localized zombie outbreak occurs in France. Richtofen and Maxis, who are friends in this dimension, fight off the zombies before Maxis is bitten, and Richtofen keeps him alive by operating on him and saving his brain. Alternate versions of Nikolai, Takio, Dempsey, and Richtofen all meet for the first time. The 4 hear Samantha Maxis, now cleansed of her madness, calling to them in their heads, and follow her advice to save this new, nicer Ludwig Maxis, who is sent to Agartha using portals to the Crazy Place. Once arrived in Agartha, Maxis then gains the power to teleport others across different dimensions. After the outbreak, Samantha, playing with toy zombies, argues with a child version of Richtofen called Eddie about the colour of the zombies' eyes, as Maxis orders them to come down to the basement.
Black Ops 3. Okay, this is where I kind of understand a little bit more.
Richtofen uses Maxis' power to find his Ultimus zombie version and instructs him to bring Victus, now walking the empty Earth, to the Chronorium and find the blood vials. The Chronorium is a book that details the past and future. Teleporting them back to Alcatraz, he then puts them in stasis and hands the vial to a future version of himself. Meanwhile, in the same dimension, 4 residents of Morgue City unknowingly help the Shadow Man and have to imprison him inside of the summoning key. Just before the Keepers can take the key from them, Maxis teleports Richtofen there to steal it.
So this is a whole different world, whole different dimension?
Thank you and goodbye.
Richtofen, Dempsey, Nikolai, and Takeo then teleport throughout the multiverse to find and kill alternate versions of themselves and absorb their souls into the summoning key. Richtofen kills his Ultimus past self just after he teleports Ludwig and Samantha in the original timeline, creating a splinter universe called a Fracture. He realizes this soul is not pure, so travels alone to Dimension 2210 and kills an orphaned version of himself, which he then sends to Agartha to befriend Samantha. Richtofen is following instructions in the Chronorium in how to save the universe. The Chronorium is a book that details the past and the future. This is also how he knows to create a lab underneath of Alcatraz Island. They make a quick stop at Alcatraz after collecting Richtofen, Dempsey, and Nikolai's souls and pick up 4 vials of each of the gangsters' blood. This is done by interacting with a past version of himself to hand off the vials. They also meet Maxis' love interest, Sophia, a science officer who, after being infected, was transferred into an AI by Maxis. After collecting Nikolai's soul, the last one needed, Dr. Monty introduces himself to them and invites them to Agartha. In Agartha, child versions of the main 4 characters, plus Samantha Maxis, live with the now restored Ludwig Maxis in a house. These children are uncorrupted souls. Dr. Monty's plan is to create a new, perfect world in Agartha, but needs the souls to do it. One night, Ludwig hears the summoning key whispering to him, and inadvertently releases the trapped Shadow Man, who traps him in the summoning key and begins to destroy the house. He also opens a portal to the Dark Ether, letting the Apothicons spill in. With the help of Sophia and Dr. Monty, Richtofen, Dempsey, Nikolai, and Takeo destroy the Shadow Man. Sophia, and a remnant of Maxis in the summoning key, sacrifice themselves to close the portal to the Dark Ether, saving Agartha and resetting the universe. Dr. Monty questions the 4 on why they have not yet disappeared, and notices the blood vials, now empty. The 4 had drunk the blood, which had belonged to the mobsters within their own time loop, stopping their fading from existence. Dr. Monty, tempted to wipe them from existence, instead allows them to complete the loop by sending them to the late 13th century, where they help the Keepers in the war against the Apothicons using staves of power, and are named Primus.
Origins. Right? That's the origin staff. Am I tripping? Yeah, the fact that Call of Duty really went from a round-based, like, tower defense type of game in World at War, because if you really think about it, it's very similar to like Bloons Tower Defense. Zombies come in, you shoot them as they break through the barrier. As the rounds go, it gets harder and harder, more zombies. So they really went from that to this. That's kind of insane. Like, it makes me wonder, at what point did they stop and start writing down like a story? Because I'm sure at first it was just supposed to be a fun little zombie game that you just shoot zombies. It's crazy. Alright, Black Ops 4.
This main cycle repeats forever. Until, during Primus' trip to Alcatraz to pick up the blood vials, the Chronorium's words change due to Al Arlington killing the other mobsters and breaking the cycle. Another version of Richtofen meets Primus Richtofen for the handover. He also tells current Richtofen to read the Chronorium again, as it has changed. Primus Richtofen realizes he must sacrifice himself. The Warden destroys their usual portal. With help from the spirits of the 4 mobsters, current Primus Richtofen hooks himself to a bloodletting machine to release all the souls of Alcatraz. This also opens a cryopod containing a version of Richtofen from after he was sent back to the Great War. He uses a crystal from his Staff of Power to break the prison.
So y'all, this is where I got really lost because I didn't play Black Ops 4 like that. I didn't like the Black Ops 4 zombie mode, so I didn't play it.
Cycle. This version of Richtofen lets current Richtofen bleed to death and destroys the blood vials, now useless with the time loop gone. The 3 members of Primus and future Richtofen then leave, but before this, Richtofen gives up the Chronorium to Nikolai, as he doesn't have the strength to do what must be done. Nikolai is the only member to still have their soul, and because they never sent the others to Agartha, only Eddie and Samantha remain at the house with Monty. Primus head to the American prison holding Ultimus, just back from the moon, and tell them they need to work together to avert Dr. Monty's control of the universe and end the cycle. The 8 of them find the elemental shard, but are radioed by Maxis that they are too late, and Monty kills him in front of the child versions of Richtofen and Samantha, but does manage to teleport them out to Primus and Ultimus. Samantha, still imbued with powers from her time in the MPD, goes berserk and swears vengeance on Dr. Monty. Joined by zombie Richtofen, the 11 of them head to a forest and toast to their futures once they defeat Monty. They awaken Victus from stasis and instruct them to go to Siberia. Once there, they finally build the Agarthan device, the plans of which had been laid for a millennia. Finally having the 3 ingredients for it, they send it to Nikolai. However, Primus Nikolai poisons the other members of Primus and Ultimus, leaving just the kids, himself, and zombie Richtofen. Using it, he destroys the summoning key, bringing about the end of creation, as all of time and space is sucked into the dark ether. The reason for all this, it is revealed, is that when Ultimus Richtofen imbued the elemental shard with the souls of the Ultimus crew, he linked the 4, and all versions of them, with the ether, trapping them in a cycle of never-ending chaos. Nikolai, having read the pages of the Chronorium, knew this was the only way to end the cycle. Nikolai then shoots zombie Richtofen, and then tells Samantha to kill him. She tells Eddie to look away. Creation begins to disappear, including Victus. A light appears, and Samantha and Eddie, the only 2 remaining people, perfect souls, walk into the light of the new, singular, uncorrupted, and keeper-free world.
So they broke the cycle, okay.
Embrace the cold, dark days with a sail that truly slays. Gifts that warm.
Reach for vodka tonight!
Well, that brings us to the halfway point of this story.
Oh, we're halfway there,
guys. If you watched
guys.
it all so far or skipped ahead, thank you so much for watching. Please consider leaving a like and subscribing for more zombies content coming very, very
Don't
soon.
subscribe to French's Op.
Anyway, onwards to the Dark Ether story, starting with... Vanguard Zombies.
Professor, it is
Vanguard
time
was
to
so
bid
bad.
your toy soldiers auf Wiedersehen.
In this new world, history progressed as normal. No Great War, no Keepers or Apothicons, just the Call of Duty campaign history as we know it, with Mason, Woods, Price and Soap. However, the Dark Ether still remained, dormant, a corrupted mirror dimension. The Dark Ether was now ruled by Elder Gods, entities of near infinite power that had different personalities. For example, Cortifex was an evil tyrant, hell-bent on conquering and destruction, while Nauticus was, while still being a conqueror, pro-democracy. These gods fought in the Netherlands.
See, I didn't like this version of zombies. It was too, like, Greek god vibes. I didn't like that.
An ongoing fight between Cortifex and the anti-Cortifex gods. Within the Dark Ether, a great stone being, whose origins are so distant they are unknown, known as the Construct, existed. This monolith could give some of its infinite power to someone once it deems them worthy. The Nether Wars were fought over this construct. The being who is given this power is known as the Archon. Previous Archons have eradicated entire Dark Ether species, destroyed the Dark Ether moon into shards, and more. Each of the gods were linked with an artifact on Earth, but while they could use their powers to see into the world, they were stuck inside of the Dark Ether. During World War II, these artifacts were collected by a man named von List, a German commander. An old colleague of von List, a demonologist known as Gabriel Kraft, abandoned the work once he saw von List's plans and the artifact's potential power. At this time, the Germans created Project Endstation, a facility in Poland to hold Die Maschine, a cyclotron that was intended to help give Germany access to nuclear energy, but instead malfunctioned and unintentionally punched a hole through reality.
I wonder what part of the world this happened in Germany. Because I'm in Germany, I'll go visit.
Opening dimensional portals to the Dark Ether. These new rifts restore the connection between the objects, the Dark Ether, and their associated god, becoming active. Kortifex whispers to von List through his object, and manipulates him into touching it. He and Kortifex then link, giving von List the powers over the dead. He then creates an army of undead soldiers that Germany lost during the war effort so far. This relationship, while seemingly mutually beneficial, is closer to a parasitic relationship, as Kortifex whispers false promises to von List. Gabriel Kraft informs the Vanguard Special Forces of von List's new powers and plans to wipe out the Allies. This Special Forces group also bond with other artifacts and gain special abilities, while also being now helped by gods fighting against Kortifex. Eventually, once Kortifex had gained enough strength, he betrayed von List and travelled to the Construct, but was denied its power because it hadn't completed the Construct's trials. During this, Kraft finds and kills von List. Kortifex completes the trials and is then deemed worthy by the Construct and becomes
Yo, this was a boss in Vanguard? I should have played Vanguard.
the Archon. The Vanguard team work with the other gods to destroy him, and as the Construct vanishes, a defeated Kortifex falls into the darkest depths of the Dark Ether. It is worth noting that Gabriel Kraft also mentions that a hero of his was Alistair Rhodes, an amateur demonologist and potentially a main character in the Black Ops 4 Chaos storyline. While this may simply be a small reference, this may be important later down the line in Black Ops 6 and beyond. Back in Poland, Project Endstation staff are locked inside the facility and corrupted by the Dark Ether. It is found by the Russians, and they send in a man named Kazimir Zykov to deactivate the machine and lock him inside. They then abandon the facility. 39 years later, in the midst of the Cold War, the Russian science division known as the Omega Group enter the station in hope of finding secret weapons, and accidentally wake up the dormant zombie horde that had once been the staff. This also causes smaller dimensional tears to appear around the world. Samantha Maxis, one of the only two survivors of the previous universe, grows up in West Germany. She joins the intelligence agency for Germany and finds herself in Iran
that's Germany because it's always raining.
Revolution of 1979, where she is saved and extracted out by Grigory Weaver. At some point after this, Weaver and Maxis are tasked with a not yet known mission. During this mission, Weaver tries to cover his tracks by burning down a house, but is unaware that a little boy is still inside, and he burns to death. He tearfully tells Maxis that the boy was meant to be with his mother and not at the house. Later, she learns of certain outbreak zones around the world. She remembers almost nothing of her childhood traumas from before the Universal Reset, but reaches out to Weaver anyway, as she fears her intelligence agency is being controlled by the Omega Group. Weaver, having come straight from losing his eye in the events of Black Ops 1's campaign, agrees to help after seeing a video from Project Endstation. Weaver sends Requiem, an American team looking into the outbreaks, to Poland, and there they learn of Omega Group's plans to use the Dark Ether to win the Cold War. At the facility, decaying and time-altered versions of the Perca-Colas, Pack-a-Punch machine, and Mystery Box are found. These are all remnants of the old universe. They destroy the facility with the help of Orlov, an Omega Group member who had been mutated into a radioactive zombie. He sacrifices himself. Samantha Maxis then makes her way to Vietnam, where she has heard of another outbreak at a firebase. She goes to meet with an undercover Omega Group agent called Ravenov. She is found and kept captive by an American traitor named Peck, working for the Omega Group. After continual torture, Samantha doesn't break, so she is thrown into a Dark Ether portal. Requiem's strike team arrive, and with Ravenov's help, drug Peck into telling them where Samantha is and reopen the portal. Samantha, who had only been in there for 2 Earth days, was in there for almost 2 Dark Ether months. She also returns with purple eyes. Before they can escape, a giant corrupted elder god named the Order appears and tries to stop them. The strike team destroy it, sending
what
it
is
back to
that?
the Dark Ether. Once they leave, Requiem's director
That was a
forces
boss
Maxis
in one of
to
the-
enter quarantine after her time
Cold
in the
War?
Dark Ether. She is questioned by the same members of Requiem overseeing the destruction of Project End Station. They are Major Carver, an ex-Defense Department member who was hand-picked by the director of Requiem as head of containment. Oscar Strauss, an ex-Project End Station researcher whose research led to the development of the Wunderwaffe DG-2 for von List. He later defected at the end of World War II. And Elizabeth Gray, head of Requiem's Unnatural Sciences. Peck, who is still alive and at the firebase, has his eye removed by Omega Group's leader, Kravchenko, for his failure. Over the next few months, more outbreaks occur in the Ural Mountains, and Requiem send the strike team to deal with them. The first task is to meet with Ravenov, who is worried about the Dark Ether crystals appearing in the outbreak zones. These crystals are also forming entities called Tempests, Dark Ether crystals made sentient and electrical. Using a radio in her quarantined room, Samantha Maxis contacts the team and Ravenov and discover Omega Group want to fire reality inversion warheads to the west, which would turn the target area into its Dark Ether counterpart. After defeating a giant tempest called Legion, the missiles are diverted away into the middle of the Philippine Sea. Around this time, Weaver gifts Maxis a Rottweiler puppy named Not So Fluffy. She is allowed to walk it twice a day. The second task in the Ural
that's
Mountains is
cold,
to
bro.
locate and
Didn't
extract
she lose her
defecting
dog?
Omega Group scientists. During this,
And then he gave her a dog
Requiem
named
had
Not
to
So
use Mr.
Fluffy.
Peeps,
She lost
a
Fluffy and
somewhat
got Not
sentient
So
teddy
Fluffy.
bear
That's
found
crazy.
in outbreak zones and mystery boxes, to move through the Ethereum gas surrounding the outbreak zone. They realize far too late that the scientists have already been killed, and who they thought they had been speaking to was actually the Omega Group. Although
game
they
is
are able
this?
to
Is
successfully
this still
defeat
Cold War?
another order, Kravchenko imprisons them and takes them to Berlin. Included in these prisoners is Raptor 1, a pilot who has been dropping off and exfilling the strike team from the outbreak zones. During this time, Samantha Maxis and Elizabeth Gray begin to grow closer and form a romantic relationship. Suddenly moved into isolation, Maxis is interrogated and abused by the director of Requiem. He wants to harness her regained powers that have started to reactivate since being in the Dark Ether. Weaver promises Sam that he will take care of Notso. The director threatens to have
Notso?
Weaver
They call the dog
disappear if Sam
Notso?
cannot produce any powers. This causes her to inadvertently shatter some glass with her mind. The imprisoned strike team are propositioned by Kravchenko to help him defeat a rogue Omega Group scientist called Valentina, who has her eyes on world domination. She was the daughter of the lead scientist at Project End Station. Kravchenko also confirmed that they are racing to free a man who had been stuck in the Dark Ether for years, Kazimir Zykov, the soldier sent in to turn off the cyclotron at Project End Station. Valentina had been influenced her whole life by a voice sounding like her father's after he had died. She merges with the Dark Ether, but is defeated, finding out that the voice was actually one of an elder god known as the Forsaken, manipulating her.
What is
Kravchenko reveals
this?
that Omega Group want to contain and control the Forsaken to use against the West. With the help of a psychopathic robot called Klaus, the outbreak is closed, but Klaus was left inside of the Dark Ether. Strike Team and Raptor 1 are betrayed by Kravchenko, who goes back on their deal, but a portal opens on a roof, and as they jump through, they see Maxis as she uses her powers to teleport them. After her powers are used, the director notes that she now presents a problem that must be dealt with. He also states that Project Janus can now proceed. Months later, the director agrees to let Sam help with Requiem's final mission in Russia, at a training facility. She is not,
So
however,
this was the
allowed
last
to
Easter egg
rejoin the team
in
at this
Cold
time.
War.
Gray
I
and
think.
Maxis confirm their feelings for each other when saying goodbye. It is likely around this time where Samantha Maxis' DNA is obtained and frozen for later use. As the Requiem strike team, helped by Ravenov, infiltrate the facility, Peck and Kravchenko beat them to it and have created a portal made to the specifications of Zykov's requests. Zykov comes through the portal and immediately transforms into the Elder God the Forsaken. Zykov had been driven mad by his almost 400 years in the Dark Ether and survived by eating the undead, Dark Ether materials, and
That looks
eventually
crazy,
all
bro.
other
The
Elder
Forsaken?
Gods and Old Ones, absorbing their powers. This
I wanna
likely
fight that
includes the
guy.
Vanguard Gods, although Cortifex is potentially still in the depths of the Dark Ether. The Forsaken begins to destroy everything, but is stopped by Maxis, who teleports in and begins to fend off the attack. While trying to fend off the zombies, Peck and Kravchenko are caught in an explosion, to which they are considered dead.
Watch where you're shooting! The gas line!
The strike team managed to weaken the Forsaken enough for Sam to damage it, which she does by absorbing zombie souls. The Forsaken gives the strike team a vision of the future, showing Strauss, Gray, Carver, and Peck all killed on the floor, with the words, "No one escapes alive," over some graffiti of a woman with powers.
I'm confused.
Maxis
Is this
interrupts
Cold
this
War?
vision and deals the final blow by
think
opening a
this is
portal
Cold War
inside of the
still.
Forsaken and flying in herself, trapping her back inside of the Dark Ether. The Forsaken and the portal disintegrate and are sucked into the containment device created by the Omega Group, looking very similar to Sophia from the original timeline. The containment device is flown away to Liberty Falls, a research station run by Project Janus.
Here we go, Liberty
The
Falls.
director, happy with the outcome, arrests the strike team and sends them to Black Site 13 for indefinite containment. He shuts down Requiem and has Weaver, Carver, Strauss, Gray, and Raptor 1 arrested and sent to Terminus Island. Before leaving, the director passes a picture of his wife and son and a snow globe with a house in it. A similar house to Agartha. The director is then revealed to be Edward Richtofen, Eddie, the only other surviving person from before the Universal Reset. 5 years later, a disfigured Peck seeks passage from Japan to the middle of the Philippine Ocean to reunite with some old friends.
Modern Warfare Zombies. I thought Modern
Skipping
Warfare
all the way
Zombies.
to the
I thought Modern Warfare Zombies was a whole different storyline. Well, I guess Vanguard would have been too. I guess it all is, but they all somehow come together. I don't know. We'll see.
2020s. A mercenary group called Terminus Outcomes identify a point of interest in Urzikstan. This group is run by Fletcher, who once served on Terminus Island in the mid-90s. They enter a building's basement and find the long-dead remains of the heads of Requiem, Weaver, Carver, Gray, and Strauss. They are all sitting round and connected to a machine. The machine opens, and 2 Dark Ether vials pop out, but another 2 are missing. Viktor Zakayev, from the Modern Warfare campaigns, is given one of the vials and breaks it, starting an outbreak. The US is ready, however, as after the Cold War, Operation Deadbolt was formed to counter these outbreaks. Also working for Deadbolt is Ravenov, who after the Forsaken was captured, went MIA and evaded capture. During this time, he unsuccessfully plotted to rescue Sam with the Requiem leads. After this, he struggled to find meaning.
So at this point in the storyline, they know they're going to keep having outbreaks, so they have teams already formed, and that's where our current team is from. Okay, that makes a little bit of sense, I guess.
And then, his DNA was acquired without his consent. Miller is also a Deadbolt worker who, as a child, survived an outbreak in Liberty Falls. Her mother and father both died. Deadbolt operatives help extract Ava Jansen, an Ethereum-studying physicist who was working for Zakayev after he offered to fund her research. After agreeing to help Deadbolt, Ava has a vivid hallucination of a zombie outbreak at the Deadbolt facility. She sees undead versions of the Requiem team and a female entity calling to her, asking to be let in. She fights off the zombies and suddenly slashes at Ravenov's neck, killing him. While being arrested, her eyes turn purple and she says,
"You will never be alive again. We will be one."
She wakes and realizes she was hallucinating, with Ravenov still talking to her on the other end of the radio. Throughout the next few months, Deadbolt makes multiple incursions into the outbreak zone and defeats the being known as the Entity that seems somehow linked to Ava. She also discovers that she has ethereal powers. Eventually, after nearly being lost into the Dark Ether, Ravenov tells her the truth. Her mother was Samantha Maxis, and her father is Ravenov, but carried and born through surrogate by Elizabeth Gray. Ravenov shows Ava a recording, in which Gray admits she gave Ava up to protect her at 3 years old, but says that because of her Maxis genes, she is linked with the Dark Ether more than anyone else. She also learns that Requiem knew they were going to die. Ravenov tells Ava that the Entity is a shadow or reflection of her, born at the same moment she was, and its influence on her still grows stronger. In one last mission, the Entity admits to Ava that there are other ancient beings in the Dark Ether that want her power. In the final battle with the Entity, Deadbolt, Ava, and Ravenov defeat it in
Yo,
the
these
same way
boss
Samantha
fights
did
are kinda
against the Forsaken,
insane.
by powering herself up with zombie souls, and it then disappears. As the Entity fades, it says, "Little sister, he is searching for you. The Shadow Smiths will take you." The outbreak zone disappears, and the gateway to the Dark Ether collapses. 3 months later, in West Virginia, Ava is at Liberty Falls, the site where Richtofen was holding the containment device. She is in some sort of motel. She answers a call from Ravenov while looking through folders labelled Project Janus. A photo of Richtofen is in the front. As Ava walks past the mirror, a shadowy figure appears inside of it, surrounded by purple smoke. The silhouette of rooftops can be made out behind the figure, and it seems to be wearing a hat, very reminiscent of the Shadow Man from the original universe. It is slightly different though. Ava mentions that she was curious about Miller's report about where she survived an outbreak as a child. Suddenly, Ravenov starts shouting warnings for her to get out, but the shadowy figure reaches a purple, ethereal hand out and reaches through. It calls to Ava as a chorus of voices. Ava approaches, asking if it's her mother, Samantha, when it suddenly grabs her by the wrist and pulls her into the mirror, now a swirling purple vortex. The only thing remaining is her phone, as Ravenov pleads for her to answer. The painting on the wall of the room says, "Welcome to Liberty Falls. One visit and you'll want to stay forever."
That's crazy. Black Ops 6, here we go.
Six years after the Forsaken had been captured during the Cold War, Edward Richtofen dreams of his family on a picnic, where he sees that they are suddenly burning alive. He awakens at Liberty Falls. He has a large, noticeable but healed scar on his neck. An alarm starts sounding. He checks in with his team from a monitor, who state that something is wrong with Sam on sub-level 10. Dimensional breaches are occurring across the facility. The staff suddenly vanish, with a gaseous pool behind them. Richtofen grabs a Wunderwaffe DG2 and saves a security officer named Blanchett. He asks him to secure and call in response teams, locking Liberty Falls down. He fights his way past the T-Rex skeleton and reaches an elevator where he states his name is Edward Richtofen, director of Project Janus. Once inside, a purple smoke slams him against the wall as he shouts that Sam will never be free, and then disappears. The elevator door opens, revealing the containment device of the Forsaken, and Samantha's voice replies,
But Edward, I already am.
At the exact same time, the 5 imprisoned members of Requiem are being tortured to madness on Terminus Island. Strauss may have started to go mad. Raptor 1 is enjoying some music. Gray and Carver are doing press-ups, and Weaver is surrounded by his writings on the wall, including a day tally, the word Richtofen, drawings of some wonder weapons, the Requiem logo, and a drawing of some Elder God symbols, including the construct. A new character, Maya Aguinaldo, kills the guard.
I like Maya, that's my character right
approaches and introduces her. Carver attacks Peck, but they realize that they have a common enemy now, Richtofen. Richtofen has allegedly stolen Peck's life work. He suggests finding and killing him. An alarm sounds, and Maya protests that they need to find her brother. They agree to split up, restore power, find Maya's brother, and then extract. When you load into Liberty Falls, you will be working as a strike team, 24 hours after the incursion began, assisting Blanchett to find survivors and investigate the mysteries of the small town. But there seems to be a mysterious church whose doors lead into the Dark Ether once again. When joining the Requiem team on Terminus Island, you will discover mutant zombie hybrids, an outbreak that has only just begun, and hopefully, Maya's brother and a way out. You will need to work with Peck this time, but is he trustworthy? There is also something lurking in the water just outside the island.
And, I guess for the last time, hoorah!
Well, look who made it to the end of the video. Here's your honorary zombies degree. Thank you all so much for watching all of this. It's a miracle I finished it on time, but I'm really happy with how it came out. Please leave a like and maybe consider subscribing. You'll get more edited Black Ops 6 content as well as the usual custom map.